Welcome back to the Bearded Console Gamer and to my final episode of 2021. Boys and girls, it's been a hell of a year for the video games industry. We've laughed, we've cried, we've seen some amazing games and some mediocre ones. We've witnessed scandals that have made our blood boil and seen acts of kindness and inclusivity that have reaffirmed our belief in the general okayness of humanity. Now we could easily sit here and dissect the apocalyptic firestorm that was 2021 in order to crown a Game of the Year contender, but frankly, literally everyone else is doing that. So I thought instead it would be a good way to cap off the year if we pointed out 20 of the most exciting games that are set to launch in 2022. But before we get into that, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to every single person who took the time to watch my nonsense over the last year and support the channel by subscribing, liking videos, and commenting. We've gone from 50 to near 500 and it's all thanks to you. And me. Okay, largely me, but you were there. But that's enough self-indulgent reflection for one video, so with no further ado, let's get into our list of 20 exciting games that are set to launch in 2022. And of course it would be impossible to make such a video and not kick it off with God of War Ragnarok, the upcoming sequel to Santa Monica's 2018 masterpiece which centered around the god-killing Spartan Kratos and his moody son Atreus as they tussled with the pantheon of Norse mythology and generally tried to find themselves. Ragnarok is set to pick up soon after the events of the previous game and will continue its journey against the backdrop of a terrifying prophecy that foretells of the end of the world. In short, the 2018 God of War was a phenomenally well-executed game, and if Ragnarok manages to live up to its lofty standards, then it's going to be an unforgettable experience and a heavyweight contender for Game of the Year. And I would say more, but let's be honest, I'll be wasting my breath because if you own a PS4 or PS5, then you're already planning on buying this game. As to when you'll be able to do so, well, once again, we don't know, but we do know that it'll be coming sometime in 2022, unless something goes terribly wrong. Next up we have Little Devil Inside, a fantastically eclectic action-adventure game with a beautiful graphical style from developers NeoStream Interactive. Now this game has been showcased a few times since its reveal in the 2020 PlayStation Showcase, and every time I see it I get a little bit more obsessed. Little Devil Inside has you take control of a mercenary / paranormal investigator named Billy, as he carries out various missions and side quests that have him explore a wide variety of atmospheric locales filled with bad men, monsters, and otherworldly creatures. And honestly, I am all in. The combat looks hella fun and the mix of graphical styles and UI choices look amazing. The only downside is that we don't yet have a release date. All we know is that it's supposedly coming sometime in 2022 and that I am thirsty for it. Moving on, it's a fact of life that any new Pokemon game will without fail be greeted by a ravenous outpouring of hype from both the Pocket Monster fanbase and, let's face it, the world at large, and Pokemon Legends Arceus is no exception to that rule. This particular adventure takes place much earlier than most entries in the Pokemon franchise and unfolds in the ancient Hisui region, where you'll strive to complete the first ever Pokédex by meeting all of the Pokemon scattered throughout the ancient Sinnoh region as a member of the Galaxy Expedition team. And as a bonus, you won't have to wait long to start your adventure, as Pokemon Legends Arceus is set to launch onto the Nintendo Switch on January the 28th, 2022. The next entry in our list is unquestionably one of the 2022 games that I'm most hyped for, and that is Horizon Forbidden West. By all accounts, it looks like the developer Guerrilla Games has taken forward the best elements from the first game in the series, Horizon Zero Dawn, and improved and expanded upon them for the sequel Forbidden West. We can expect to see the continuation of Aloy's journey to save humanity, jaw-droppingly atmospheric vistas, excellent voice acting, and a greatly expanded roster of brilliantly designed robotic creatures. Horizon Forbidden West is set to be released on the 18th of February, and it's worth pointing out that you're going to have needed to have played Horizon Zero Dawn if you have any hope of following the story in the sequel, though I'm sure there'll be some kind of basic recap at the beginning. Moving on, at number 5 we have Far Changing Tides, the sequel to the critically acclaimed vehicle adventure game Far Lone Sails, and it's another one that I am particularly excited for. Far Lone Sails had a magnificently lonely atmosphere that immediately drew me into its desolate world and then refused to let me go. The premise of the game is, on the face of it, incredibly simple. You, as the protagonist, have the set goal of moving forward to a destination that is known explicitly only to the little man on the screen and is never fully explained to you. Throughout the journey, you'll pilot and maintain a lovingly designed vehicle with which you'll inevitably form a strong emotional bond. In terms of gameplay, the controls themselves are very simple, but that isn't a bad thing. Rather, it allows you to focus on the ever-changing and expressive post-apocalyptic vistas as they roll by, and to enjoy the intuitive puzzles that occasionally block your way but will never frustrate you. Simply put, it's a masterpiece in environmental storytelling, and the soon-to-be sequel appears to follow directly in its footsteps, albeit with the addition of new features and even grander environmental compositions. But moving on, after being delayed multiple times, Rainbow Six Extraction is finally set to be released on January the 20th, 2022. This upcoming title, set in the Tom Clancy universe, will see you team up with up to 3 human operatives to take on an ever-evolving enemy known simply as the Sprawl, while you secure, extract, and complete key mission objectives. Prior to each battle, you'll get to pick from a selection of 18 Rainbow Six operators whose abilities can be improved via the in-game progression system. Failing a mission could result in an operative getting captured by the Sprawl, which, unless you're into sentient mold, appears to be a bad thing. Number 7 on our list is Elden Ring, arguably one of the most anticipated games of all time. This time around, developers from Software have taken their beloved masochistic approach to game creation and planted it squarely in the middle of an impressive Gothic-themed open-world setting. It's an exciting departure from the level design of earlier titles from the Dark Souls universe, and is sure to thrill newcomers to the Soulsborne genre and veterans alike when it launches onto Xbox, PlayStation, and PC on February the 25th. 2022 is also set to see the release of Dying Light 2 Stay Human, the zombie-centric action role-playing parkour simulating survival horror game from developers Techland. Set 20 years after the events of the original Dying Light, Stay Human follows the story of Aidan Caldwell as he shapes the destiny of humanity's last beleaguered city in a world decimated by a civilization-killing virus. It's a little on the nose, don't you think? The gameplay and world traversal look liquid smooth, furthermore the monsters look horrific, and you can pretty much smell the tension in the atmosphere in some of these scenes. Dying Light 2 launches onto Xbox, PlayStation, PC and Switch on February the 4th next year, and you can paint me excited. Gran Turismo 7 is also set for an early 2022 release, and will apparently boast an impressive roster of 420 Blaze-It cars and 90 track routes at launch. Players will also be treated to multiple game modes, including the GT campaign and the simulation mode, along with dynamic weather, ray tracing, and the ability to comprehensively customize the look of their rides. Gran Turismo 7 is set to launch in just a few short months on the 4th of March. Now changing gears, pun intended, Square Enix's Forspoken will plunge you into a high fantasy setting as you take control of protagonist Frey, a young New Yorker who finds herself mysteriously transported to the magical land of Athia. Once there, you'll generally get to parkour, battle monstrous creatures, unravel the secrets of the world, and eventually defeat the powerful matriarch Tantas that hold Athia in their thrall. Forspoken is set to release on PC and PlayStation 5 on the 25th of May. Flipping over to the Microsoft side of things, on November the 11th, 2022 is set to see the release of Bethesda's next mainline game, Starfield, which will be coming as an Xbox Day 1 Game Pass exclusive. Being made by Bethesda, it is of course a role-playing game, and I'm sure that it's going to leverage mechanics from the Elder Scrolls and Fallout franchises. However, it's also worth pointing out that this game is something entirely new. It's the first fresh universe to be developed by the Bethesda team in 25 years. Now, I spent the last 6 years as a science writer covering the aerospace industry, so I may be a little bit biased here, but I've got to say that I love the sci-fi setting and the general overall vibe of the game. It's like the devs mashed together aspects of Apollo-era spacecraft with the aesthetics of a Ridley Scott movie. Everything just seems so practical. I mean, just look at the ship. Every component in it looks like it serves a purpose. And on a side note there are even some Easter eggs that you can spot that suggest that Starfield's universe is directly connected to our own real-world existence. For example, if you look at the shelf in this scene, you can see that there's a book entitled Sailing Around the World by Captain Joshua Slocum, which tells the tale of the captain's real-world circumnavigation of the globe in the 1900s. I personally cannot wait to explore the colonies, meet NPCs, and generally unravel the secrets of the universe that Todd Howard and everyone at Bethesda have been building with Starfield. November simply cannot come soon enough. But moving on, number 12 on our list is Final Fantasy XVI, which, in keeping with the long-running traditions of the franchise, is shaping up to be an epic high fantasy adventure involving royal blood, iconic monsters, magical crystals, British accents, and hair that I would literally kill and or die for. The 16th mainline story entry will unfold in the land of Valisthea, which is bathed in the light of the Mother Crystals, which in turn allows the people of that world to conjure magic and generally make their lives more livable. At the time of the game, Valisthea is falling prey to a mysterious blight, and it looks like the fallout from this could trigger an all-out war between factions who have established cities around the mountainous crystals. I'm excited, you're excited, so here's hoping that we get to see Final Fantasy drop in 2022 so that we can get our sweaty nerd on. Next year could also see the release of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, the highly anticipated sequel to Senua's Sacrifice, which was lauded by critics and fans alike for shining a light on mental health and generally being an outstanding video game. And judging by the recent trailer that dropped during the 2021 Game Awards presentation, it looks like the second game in the series is only set to become more epic, brutal, and dangerous than the first. So this is definitely one to keep your eye on, particularly around the E3 period, but it's worth pointing out that we still don't have any kind of release date for this game just yet, so it could easily land in 2023. And now a quick one, after being teased a full 4 years ago, there's an honest-to-God chance that Bayonetta 3 may finally be coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime in 2022. So get hyped if you're a fan of witchcraft, gun heals, giant angel demons, and powerful dance magic. Next up is the superhero-infused open-world action RPG Gotham Knights from developer WB Games Montreal. Set directly in the wake of Batman's apparent death, Gotham Knights follows the trials of Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin as they struggle to prevent the criminal element and the sinister Court of Owls from overwhelming Gotham. The game can be played either solo or with friends, and if you want to know more about how the Court of Owls might be represented in the game, be sure to check out my video from earlier in the year, which I'll link to under this episode. Gotham Knights is set to launch sometime in the next year, but following the recurring theme of video game announcements in 2021, we don't yet know exactly when. Moving on, Harry Potter fans rejoice because after a very quiet 2021, it looks like Avalanche Software's Hogwarts Legacy may finally be ready to launch in 2022. The open-world role-playing game is set sometime in the 1800s and will allow you to experience your own adventure set against the backdrop of the magical world that we've all come to know and love. More specifically, you'll be taking control of a player-designed student at Hogwarts who, and I quote, holds the key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the wizarding world apart. You'll have the opportunity to duel, master ancient magic, meet fantastic beasts, and generally go to wizard high school as you decide the fate of the magical world. Firaxis' turn-based strategy game Marvel's Midnight Suns is also set to release in early 2022. This latest game from the makers of the much-beloved XCOM series is based on the 1990s Marvel comic arc Rise of the Midnight Suns, which involved a group of heroes with supernatural origins, including the likes of Ghost Rider and the vampire hunter Blade, teaming up to take on the mother of all demons, Lilith. In the Midnight Suns video game, you'll get to follow the story of a brand new player-made superhero called the Hunter as they battle Lilith alongside popular Marvel heroes including Iron Man, Captain America, and Doctor Strange. For a full rundown on this game and the controversial card combat system, be sure to check out my earlier video before the game launches sometime in March 2022. Next up on our list is Redfall, an Xbox exclusive Game Pass Day 1 title from Arcane Austin, which is currently slated for a summer release. Now I've got high hopes for this open world co-op shooter, partially because I like the premise of a legion of vampires blocking out the sun and going full hangry on a small town while a group of unusual survivors attempt to resist, but also because the team behind the game just so happens to be the talent who created Prey and Dishonored. So if the devs manage to successfully leverage and apply mechanics developed during the creation of those titles to Redfall, then we can expect the gameplay here to be liquid smooth and thoroughly enjoyable. That said, we know precious little about the game at the moment, so it's a little early to be handing down judgments on its quality, but given the team's pedigree, there's no reason not to be excited. The penultimate spot on our list goes to Splatoon 3, which is set to feature a brand new single-player campaign in which you'll play as Agent 3 as they fight against the evil Octarian army and the return of the Mammalians. We'll also be treated to new Inkling styles, multiplayer maps, and weapons, all of which combine to give a fantastic excuse to drop back into one of the most Nintendo franchises ever. And finally, at number 20, we have The Lord of the Rings Gollum. Nah, I'm just f***ing with you. At number 20, we have the crown jewel from the Pantheon of Man, Please Let It Come Out This Year games, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, Nintendo have been infuriatingly unwilling to provide info on the next Zelda adventure for the majority of 2021. I mean, we still don't even know the full title of the game. However, from the two trailers that we have been given, we can see that the game is going to follow closely in the footsteps of its predecessor, albeit with a few key twists, such as, for example, the fact that half of Hyrule now seems to be floating in the sky. Check out my video on the most recent trailer, which I'll link to down below, if you want to know more about what's happening. But needless to say, at this point, we're all just hoping against hope that this one makes it out in 2022, because we're all desperate to continue Link and Zelda's journey and find out why this dried out dude was lurking beneath Hyrule Castle with a magic hand jammed in his freaking chest. And that's it for my list of 20 games to get excited for in 2022. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comment section below which games you're most hyped to see in 2022. In the meantime, be sure to keep it here for all the biggest news, reviews and reactions from around the video gaming industry.